Hello students, so let us understand the concept of interfaces in Java. Interfaces are very much important and very powerful. You must understand the concept of interfaces. Interfaces are what? In one sense, they are called as pure abstract classes. So few programmers, they call it as the pure abstract class. Why pure abstract class? They say that they complain about abstract classes in Java, that abstract classes should be actually abstract, while abstract classes in Java actually allow non-abstract methods to be given in the abstract class. So they say that abstract classes are not abstract. We should actually give more weightage to interfaces while we require abstract classes. So what interfaces are, they said like interfaces are the collection of abstract methods. So they are some collection of some abstract methods and there is no need to write abstract before them. So they do not actually contain a method that is actually defined. So in case they are having certain method declarations and which are termed as abstract, what the new class does. So interfaces, they can be implemented by new classes. So any class that wants to implement an already created interface in Java language, they must define all the methods which are given in interfaces. Now let me actually give you a few theory about interfaces, how we can relate these interfaces in Java language. You must have seen that we are having TVs in our homes, and TV are termed as objects. So now how do we actually operate TV? So in order to operate TV, we are having another object that is called as a remote. So that is another object that we are having, and we see two objects working together in tandem. So they are communicating. How they are communicating? So in remote, you can see that there are certain methods. There are certain methods which we actually call by pressing certain buttons. So you can actually switch on the TV, you can change the channels, you can make the audio on and off, and you can make other methods, whatever present in the remote. Now, what are those methods? Take an example. Now, if I take a channel, like if I change the channel, let me actually write the name of the method. So suppose I see that there is a method that is change channel. So there is a button that is there in remote, that once you press, it changes the channel of running TV instance. Now where this method is actually written, this method is actually written in the TV itself, that is written in TV. So what actually happens while you press this button, the methodology, the code behind this change channel is actually written within the body of TV. While in remote, there is nothing. In remote, there is just a button that just invokes this method, and the method written within the TV is actually gets activated. So now, if in case you will see that if in case we say that this remote is an interface. If this is an interface and this TV is actually the object that implements this interface, so what the TV does is, for each and every button that is present on this remote has been actually defined within this TV object. Now, any button that is pressed, so you make a call to that method and the functionality within the TV gets executed. So this is how we say that the interfaces are collections of certain methods only, and all these methods are said as abstract. So in case they are abstract, that means the body is not defined within the interface, they are actually defined in the class which actually implements that interface. So this is a little bit about the theory of the interface, and let us actually see how interfaces are actually implemented in Java language. Let me omit the screen and let us see through experiment. Now let us actually add an interface. Interfaces are just created like we create classes. So let us create a remote class, and if there is a remote interface and there is a TV class. Now inside the remote interface, I say that there is a method. I say it as void change channel. Now because it is written in an interface, it cannot have its body, so we'll don't provide its body, remain it as it is. So once this TV class is created and it wants to actually implement this interface, it was written like implements a remote. And once it is implementing this remote, this method which is present within this remote class, that must be given a body here. So this is the rule. This is how interface is created, and once the interface is created, any class may try to implement that interface by implementing all the methods which are given within this interface. You cannot leave any method undefined within this class. So let us see what happens when we try to actually create an object of T. So we are creating an instance, and with this instance I try to change the channel. So what will happen? All the instructions written within this change channel will get executed. So let us save this program and run it. Let's compile 1.java. What it is saying? Change channel in TV cannot implement change channel in remote. Attempting to assign a weaker access privileges was public. What this actually means? It means that all methods which are given within this interface, they are by default public. Even if you don't write it, they are meant to be like public. You may write it public before it, but even if you don't write, it is termed as public. And once any class tries to redefine this method, what we are doing is, it was public in interface, and now that in class TV it is given a weaker access. Weaker access means it is having a default access because you did not provide it. So the rule number 2 in interfaces is that all the methods which are defined within the class, they must also be public. And let it saved and try to compile the program again. You'll see that the error is removed because you have given the similar access. So you may try to give it public here, or you may omit. There is no problem. And just run it, Java TV, and you'll see that it gets executed because nothing has been written within it. It gets executed. Now let us add one more method inside the interface. Public void increment sound, increment say volume. Now I have actually implemented this change channel, but I did not implement this increment volume, so it must give you an error. Let us see what kind of error comes in. Let us try to compile and say it is saying TV is not abstract and does not override increment volume in remote. So it must also increment this function here. And so can we actually write or define a data member within this interface? Yes, of course. How can we? It can be like if we say that int id. So let me give an id to this. So what happens when we try to provide this within this? It's saying that there is an equal to that is expected. What does it mean? It means that all data members which are defined within this interface, they must be treated as constants. And how constants are defined? Constants are defined using final keyword. And once final keyword is defined, it must be initialized. So we must give a number to it. So it is initialized. Now that it can be used. So how can it be used? Let me write a statement here. In case we are trying to implement this method, we must write something. And why not we should try to print the ID. The ID is ID. And let us also implement this method, because it will give you an error if we try without giving a body to it. So let us give it an empty body. Now that our functionality is complete, let's try to compile this program. It does, and let us run it in Java TV, and it gives the ID as TV. So it is able to access the value of ID. So all data members which are defined within this interface, they are defined as final. They are constants. All right. So this is how an interface is done. Let me tell you one more thing about interfaces, that once you try to implement any interface with respect to a class, a relationship occurs. What type of a relationship is there? That there is a remote on top of it. It acts like a base class for this TV. Either it is not a base class, it is an interface, but it acts like, because you are implementing a method of a remote class. So what actually internally happens is it acts like an abstract class and base abstract class for your concrete class. So the rule of polymorphism was that your remote class, your base class, can access the derived class objects. So how we can actually implement it? We can actually create an reference to an interface like R, and we can create an instance of the object which can be accessed with reference to the reference of interfaces. How it can be done, let us see. Like for example, here where we have written TVOB, we can write a remote OB is equal to new TV. So now my OB, which is a reference to the interface, that is actually referring to the object of its implemented class. So let us see how it is actually allowing it. Let us save this program. We'll see this type of a notation many times. Let's compile it. Let us run it. So it happens like the similar one. So there is no change. So this gives you a rule. Many times you will see that an interface is referring to the classes that it is giving. And you will see not only one interface, a class can implement multiple interfaces too. So remote 1, and if there is another interface with the name as M2, that must be defined here. So the class can implement multiple interfaces too. And one important thing about this classes are that class can try to extend from another class. A class TV is extending from, suppose we say that old TV, and this is also valid. So a class can try to inherit from an existing class and try to implement multiple interfaces. So this type of statements we can also see in Java programs. So we can say that a class may try to inherit from one class and try to implement multiple interfaces too. One more thing about interfaces, that an interface actually can extend from another interface. Like for example, if I say that interface I2, or we say that M2 extends remote like this. So this is also valid. So another interface, if we try to define, that may be actually defining, that may be extending this interface and it is doing what? It is trying to add one more method, its own method into it, like change layout. Suppose I give it. So there is a M2 interface that is saying that it is adding one more method. So there will be multiple methods that will be coming from remote as well as in. So this M2 interface will be containing all these three as well as one more method. So if in case this TV wants to implement both of them, there is no need. It may actually implement this only interface, because this M2 contains all the methods of remote as well as one more. So this class TV that will be extending from old TV, that must be a class already specified in, and it may try to implement this. So this is also valid. So that is all about interfaces. Let us meet in the next video to understand new topics. Thank you.